I never thought there would come a day when I'd be called that woman right in front of my own grandson. That afternoon, I stood outside the school gate, holding the little teddy bear Ethan used to sleep with every night. The wind was cold, but colder still was the voice that came from behind me. "Ethan, stop! Don't go near that woman!" I froze. That woman? Me, the one who used to rock him to sleep, who cooked him warm porridge every morning, was now treated like a stranger. For 3 months, Linda had forbidden me from seeing my grandson. She said I was too old-fashioned, that I had a negative influence on the child. And David, my son, just kept silent. I thought I had learned to live with loneliness until that day. Because when Ethan saw me, he dropped his school bag, ran toward me as fast as he could, tears streaming down his face, shouting, "Grandma, I miss you." In that single moment, I knew the secrets of my family were about to be revealed. Before I tell you what happened next, how every hidden truth slowly came to light, take a moment. If you're watching this video, maybe you too have felt misunderstood, pushed away, or forgotten by the very people you love. And if this story touches you, I invite you to be part of this little family here. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and leave a comment to tell me where you're watching from. I read every single one, and your words are what keep me sharing more family drama stories that touch the heart, remind us that love and forgiveness still exist. Because here, each family drama story is not just a story, it's a reminder that you are never alone. Now, come with me to see what happened after Ethan ran into my arms that day. My name is Helen, 65 years old, living alone in a small house on the outskirts of Charlotte. My husband passed away 8 years ago, and since then, my only joy has been my son, David, and my grandson, Ethan, the boy I love more than life itself. I still remember the day he was born. I cried like a child. I swore that no matter what happened, I would always protect him. But everything began to change when Linda appeared. At first, I was truly happy for David. Linda was beautiful, soft-spoken, and seemed well-mannered. I thought my son had finally found happiness. But that happiness turned out to be only on the surface. After the wedding, Linda moved in with David to the house I had helped them buy with my life savings. I didn't mind. I thought, as long as my son is happy, I'll give him everything. For a while, things were fine. I often visited to cook, clean, and babysit while they worked. Ethan was only 2 then. Every time he saw me, he'd run to hug me tight. But everything changed when Linda quit her job and stayed home full-time. That's when the distance began. She started criticizing my cooking as too greasy, said my ways of teaching were outdated, and often made painful remarks. "Mom, no one disciplines kids with fear anymore. Mrs. Helen, children should grow up in positivity, not in your sad old stories." I kept silent. I thought she was just trying to prove herself as a modern mother. But then she stopped letting me hold Ethan, saying he was too emotionally attached. The visits grew shorter, then disappeared completely. One day, I called David, my voice trembling. "Why can't I see Ethan anymore?" He was quiet for a long time before saying, "Linda thinks it's best if we raise him ourselves. Please don't be upset, Mom." I wasn't upset. Just empty. Every afternoon after that, I'd stand behind the fence near his preschool, watching from afar. He was growing so fast, new haircut, new shoes, new backpack, but his eyes still shone with the same innocence. I smiled, even as tears blurred my vision. I didn't know that behind Linda's calm smile hid a plan that would destroy my family in just one afternoon. That day, the sky drizzled softly. I wore my old coat and brought a basket of freshly baked cookies, Ethan's favorite. I didn't call ahead, I just thought, he'll be happy to see me. But when I arrived, the iron gate was shut, a private property sign hanging coldly. I rang the bell. Linda opened the door, her face icy. "What are you doing here?" she asked sharply. I forced a smile. "I just wanted to see Ethan. I brought some cookies." She cut me off. "Mrs. Helen, I've made it clear. I don't want you showing up here anymore." I froze. "I'm just his grandmother." "Why? You're a bad influence," she said flatly. "You fill his head with sadness, death, poverty, loss. I won't let my son grow up around that." I stood there in silence, feeling like a stranger at my own son's door. Behind her, I saw David at the end of the hallway. He looked away. "David," I whispered. He just said, "Please go home, Mom. Don't make this worse." I smiled weakly. a broken, unforgettable smile. As I turned to leave, Linda's voice struck again. "And don't show up at the school anymore. If you do, I'll tell security." I turned around, stunned. My daughter-in-law threatening me? She simply crossed her arms. "I'm protecting my child." The door slammed shut. The metallic click echoed like the sound of something inside me breaking forever. I walked home through the rain, each drop heavier than the last. On the way, I saw a poster that read, "Happy families start with understanding." Alding. I let out a bitter smile. If only understanding was enough, maybe I wouldn't be this lonely. That night, I sat in my kitchen, staring at the empty chair across from me. On the table, the cookies had gone cold. I took a bite. The sweetness had turned to bitterness. I thought about Ethan, his little arms around my neck, his laughter echoing in my ears. Would he still remember my scent? Or would he only remember his mother's words, "Don't go near that woman"? The next day, I still went to the school just to see him from afar. I didn't plan to talk, just a glimpse would be enough. But as soon as I arrived, the school guard approached me. "Mrs. Helen, I'm sorry, but we've been instructed not to let you stand near the gate anymore." I froze. Instructed by who? Your son's family. They said you're affecting the child's emotions. I didn't argue. I just smiled faintly and turned away. But what I didn't know was that from inside the schoolyard, Ethan saw everything. He stood still, confused, his small face filled with tears. I never imagined I'd be called that woman right in front of my own grandson. That night, when I opened my mailbox, I found a small note pushed through the door slot. A child's messy handwriting. "Grandma, I miss you. I will find you. Vi." I held the paper in my hands as tears wouldn't stop falling. I didn't know that those innocent words were the beginning of the biggest storm my family would ever face. I kept the note in my hand for a long time, staring at the shaky letters while my heart trembled. "Grandma, I miss you. I will find you." Just 8 simple words, but they tore through the cold wall that had kept me from my grandson for months. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat by the window. The streetlight shone through the curtain and fell on that tiny piece of paper like a small flame of hope. I knew Ethan still remembered me, but I also knew Linda wouldn't easily let him do anything she didn't want. 3 days later, I went to the market early. As I passed the corner grocery, the owner called out, "Mrs. Helen, I heard your son is moving away, right?" I stopped. "Moving? Who said that?" "Linda did. She bought cardboard boxes yesterday and said they're moving to another state because someone in the family is causing trouble for her son." It felt like a slap to my face. I walked home with my head spinning. Trouble? Am I trouble in my daughter-in-law's eyes? I sat at the table and opened an old photo album. There was Ethan smiling with ice cream on his lips. I stroked the photo as tears fell. No. I wouldn't let him disappear from my life like this. That evening, I wrote a long letter to David. Every word shook, but I was firm. "My son, I don't need anyone to defend me, and I don't need anyone to judge me right or wrong. I only want you to know, a grandmother's love is never a bad influence. I am not too old to be forgotten, and I am not too weak to be cut out of this family. If you leave, I will still pray for you, for Linda, and especially for Ethan, a child growing up in fear of being separated from love. You can resent me, but don't teach him to resent his grandma." I folded the letter and mailed it, not expecting a reply. But 2 days later, what I received wasn't a letter, it was a cold phone call. Linda called, her voice sharp as a knife. "Why did you send David a letter? Don't you get it? Every time we mention you, he gets stressed." I stayed calm. I just wanted to talk, not cause trouble. She sneered. "It's decided. We're leaving this weekend. Ethan doesn't need someone like you in his life." I went silent. I could only hear the rain through the phone, each drop pounding my heart. Then she lowered her voice and whispered, "And don't be surprised if he doesn't remember you anymore. I'll make sure of it." My hands shook as I set the phone down. A mother can endure distance, but how can she bear being stripped of the right to love her grandchild? That night, I sat by the door, hugging Ethan's old teddy bear. Outside, the wind blew through the trees. The rustling leaves sounded like his little voice calling, "Grandma." I knew that no matter how hard Linda tried, the bond between us was still there. And I was right. The next morning when I opened the door, a small figure stood at the gate. Ethan, hair messy, jacket unzipped, clutching a photo of the two of us. "Grandma," he said, voice shaking, "I ran away. I don't want to go anywhere." I knelt and hugged him, my tears mixed with the rain. But at that moment, from far away came the sound of a car and frantic shouting, "Ethan! Ethan, where are you?" The real storm had begun. Voices echoed in panic from the end of the street. I held Ethan tighter, my heart pounding. He trembled and choked. "I don't want to go, Grandma. I just want to be with you." Before I could answer, brakes screeched. Linda jumped out, face pale with fear. She rushed over and yanked Ethan's arm. "What do you think you're doing? Who gave you permission to run off like that?" But Ethan sobbed and clung to me. "I don't want to leave Grandma. You always say she's bad, but she's not." The street fell silent. Linda froze. I was stunned too. I had never heard my 5-year-old grandson speak like that. He understood the split inside our family all too well. David arrived then. He stared at the scene. "Oh God, what is happening?" His voice trembled. Linda snapped at him. "You're asking me? Your mother sent that letter and turned our son against me. See? This is the result." I shook my head. "No, Linda. I've only ever taught him to love." "Love?" she scoffed. "By telling him stories about death and hardship? By making him afraid to be away from you?" David stepped in, trying to calm her. "Linda, that's enough. This isn't the way." But Linda cried out, voice breaking. "You don't understand. I've lost sleep for nights, terrified he'll love her more than me. You don't know what it feels like to be pushed aside as a mother." Her words stunned me. I looked at her, the woman I thought was arrogant, and saw a mother eaten away by fear. Ethan sobbed in my arms. I wiped his tears, then looked at Linda. "Linda, I don't want to fight. I just want to love my grandson, nothing more." "I'd in." My voice shook, but I stood firm. "You're afraid of losing your child. I lost mine a long time ago. Don't let Ethan be the next." Linda stared, speechless, as tears began to fall. David looked at the two women he loved, his mother and his wife, and finally sighed. "Enough. We can't live like this anymore." He took Ethan's hand and placed it in mine. "Ethan needs both of you. And Mom, I'm sorry for letting this go too far." I couldn't speak. I only nodded. Linda turned away, shoulders trembling. It felt like the storm had passed, the sky still gray, but a thin beam of light had appeared somewhere. I knew this wasn't the end, but it was the first moment we truly saw each other, not as mother-in-law and daughter-in-law, but as two women carrying wounds in their hearts. That afternoon, after the rain, the air felt strangely fresh. I sat in the living room. Ethan slept soundly on the sofa, his face peaceful as if nothing had happened. David stood by the window in long silence. And Linda, she sat across from me, turning her wedding ring, eyes tired. I was about to speak when Linda said softly, different from her usual tone, "Mrs. Helen, I'm sorry." I looked at her, saying nothing. She took a deep breath and continued, "I don't hate you. I'm just afraid. I lost my mother when I was little. When I had Ethan, I was terrified of losing him too. When I saw him close to you, I panicked. I thought if I let it be, I would slowly disappear from his life." Her voice shook. Her eyes were red. For the first time, she didn't look proud, just a confused mother, lost between love and fear. I answered gently, "Linda, I understand. All mothers fear losing their children. But love isn't about holding tight. Sometimes, loving means letting your child be loved by more people." She looked up, tears falling. "I was too extreme, too selfish. I put David in the middle of the two women he loves most. I'm sorry." I stepped forward and put a hand on her shoulder. Forgiving doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing to begin again. If you're willing, I am too. The room was quiet for a moment. Sunlight slipped through the window and lit her face, and for the first time I saw her truly smile. David came over and wrapped his arms around both of us. "Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Linda. I was wrong to stay silent so long. From now on, we won't let Ethan grow up in an emotional void." I smiled and stroked my grandson's hair. Ethan woke, rubbed his eyes, and looked at us three adults. "Grandmom, are you two done being mad?" Linda hugged him, laughing through tears. "Yes, sweetheart, Grandma and Mom both love you." In that moment, I knew, after years of loneliness and hurt, our family had finally found the light again. Not the bright light of joy, but the gentle light of real forgiveness and love. One spring morning, I sat in the backyard, listening to birds while Ethan's laughter drifted from the kitchen. He was helping his mother bake, and David was fixing the old swing my husband made me years ago. Sunlight filled the house with warm gold. I smiled. Maybe the cracks in our hearts had finally been mended, not by fancy words but by time, listening, and kindness. Linda came out to the garden with tea. She hesitated. "Mrs. Helen, I followed your recipe today, almond cookies." "Oh yeah," I laughed. "Ethan's favorite, right?" She nodded, her eyes warm. Between us, there was no more distance, only understanding. Ethan ran out, holding a warm cookie. "Grandma, Mom and I made this together. Try it." I took a bite. Sweet, rich, fragrant. But what moved me wasn't the taste. It was the feeling that family had returned. I whispered, "Ethan, you know, families aren't always perfect. But if we love and forgive, every wound can heal." "Why?" He tilted his head. "Like when I fall and Mom blows on the hurt spot, right?" I smiled and nodded. "Exactly, my boy." That afternoon, as the sun slanted across the porch, I opened my journal and wrote the last line. "Love never disappears. It waits to be called by kindness." And I knew my story, like so many family drama stories, isn't only about pain. It proves that even inside hurt, there is always a chance to start again. Thank you for listening to my story today. If this story made you shed a tear, or simply reminded you of someone who once loved you, leave a comment below. I want to hear your story. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell so you won't miss the family drama stories that touch the heart every day. Because here, each story isn't only tears, it's hope, a reminder that no matter how deep the wound, love can still heal everything.